I mean, they have a whole production team that's dedicated to making social content. So this is probably, a little bit different for her specific strategy, but you could still kind of apply it to your own strategy and thinking about how she does it. So they'll have a lot of like outtake recording type stuff. So before they actually start the podcast, she'll do like these rapid fire questions that might not necessarily always make it into the podcast. So if you're scrolling on social media, you'll see like these clips and you're like, that's like perfect social content, but it's not always in the podcast. So stuff that either gets edited out or even just like you record it at the time, like Nicholas is saying, like original, not related to your broadcast recording, but like related to the show itself.
Yeah.
Is definitely great for like that social content.
And like, look, even if there is some crossover, like even if that person answers the question and then they give like a 10-minute version of that answer later in the episode, that's fine. We want the short version for social media because that's where it's going to do well, you know? And I've used this analogy before. Alyssa, you can roll your eyes if you need to, but like I always look at like podcast clips as being like the single for an album where it's like sometimes it's a little truncated. It's not the full song that you hear when you buy the vinyl record, but like it's okay. It was made for radio where people are just kind of like, you know, flipping stations and stuff like that. And this is what it's going to do. It's going to fulfill a very specific purpose. So, kind of viewing your podcast clips as that it's taking that one nugget that makes your podcast special and just, shows it to people. Um, and like there's some stuff on like the production side that you can do, but we'll get to that in a second. I think the point here is there are a bunch of different types of clips that you can use and just experimenting, adapting, trying at least one or two of these, seeing how they do, trying another one, maybe combining some of them, You could easily do like the banter thing I mentioned earlier and combine that with what Alyssa just described when it comes to like what's the podcast called?
It's Call Her Daddy, I
Call Her
think.
Dad. I think so,
I
right?
gotta Google it. I feel like that's right. I feel like I hear it all the time.
It sounds familiar. I
Yes.
just don't listen to the show, so I don't
I
know.
don't either. I
Yeah.
just like obviously being in podcasting, you hear about the ones that like are the top of the charts or so, and that one continues to rank. So
Okay.
that's more
So
why I'm like, okay,
so
I'm
it is Call
familiar
Her
with it.
Daddy.
Yes,
Okay. Cool. In the future, whenever I don't know what a podcast is, I'll just cover my mouth so that I can dub it in later.
exactly.
Anyway,
You can never be wrong.
I can never be. I actually did that on a podcast over the holidays where I mispronounced someone's name. And then at the end of the episode, I said it right and was like, see, I didn't mispronounce it. And then when I was editing, I just went in and dubbed it. So I never mispronounced it
Well,
because
editing. What
I am
we love
petty.
to edit. Not
Yes.
that we edit ours, but
No,
like
exactly. Well, speaking of editing, so back to podcast clips. I was talking about the single for an album, right? And one of the things that I don't know how many people do this, but I think if you have the means and you have the time and you feel like it'll add a lot to your episode, you should do it. Is when you have something that feels really good. Like this is a really interesting piece of content. People are going to react to this, but it's a minute long. Even if you have that full minute in your episode, don't be afraid to maybe chop it down a little bit just for the clip, you know? Make a little radio edit, if you will, and just go ahead, take out the ums and ahs. Maybe if you're like me, I go off on tangents a lot. I'm sure people have noticed, but like maybe take the tangent out. That's all.
not the
Um,
tangents.
the tangents are what I live for, but like on social media, the tangents are very much not it.
Yeah. They definitely kind of I mean they don't take away from the value of your show, but it's the core message. It's like the fluff. Like you want to just take out the randomness in a sentence sometimes. Because you
Exactly.
have like, 10 seconds or something, like us being like da 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 da, edit your clip. The da 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 da. Not very helpful, right?
Yeah, exactly. Take out all of the Peanuts parents talk where they're just like, wah, wah.
Better
But
way to phrase
yeah,
it for sure.
that's where my mind went. It's because I have a Snoopy mug in front of me.
Ah,
But no, it's exactly that. It's taking out the pauses, which in a hour-long discussion are perfect and natural and human, and leave them in your full episode, please. But like on TikTok where everything is like rapid fire and you're going up against like slime videos and Family Guy clips. Maybe
Highly
just
produced stuff.
highly produced. Look, split screens are difficult. Okay. But maybe don't. Maybe just take the pauses out, you know? And just put your best foot forward. It doesn't have to be in the episode. Seriously, you're just matching the pace of social media so that your video will compete on social media. And to that end, there is this point, like I have this new fun saying that I swear one of these days I'll have printed on a cap and I'll just wear it. But like it's this idea that good enough is great. So like by all means go the extra mile. Produce your podcast clips, make graphics, cut the fluff. Don't worry about it that much though. You know, just we really want you to get to a point where your clip is good enough because of the way social media works. You're going to post it and engagement will eventually tamper off on it, you know, because there's so much stuff getting posted. So get to good enough and you're great. That's good. Pat yourself on the back. Purchase my good enough is great hat if I end up making it.
Link in
Etc.
bio.
Yeah, link in bio, exactly. Um, always record yourself saying link in bio just in case you need it. No, I'm kidding.
No, but I mean that's so true. And to anybody that's ever, had the uh privilege of using TikTok and creating TikTok videos, you
Mhm.
probably noticed like something that you're like, I spent an hour or hours on a TikTok clip. We've all done it. And you post it and you're like, your eye twitches because you're like 12 views. Okay, I really thought that'd do better. And then you have like I like literally I'll be like, okay, I don't know. And I'll just like click it. And I'm like, sure, 20 seconds. That seems right. And like just listen to it, post it. I'm like, cool, that was a minute of effort. And it'll get like thousands of views. And I'm like, okay, what?
Precisely.
What?
That
It
also
hurts.
speaks to like, look, sometimes you want a little imperfection in the stuff you make. You know, it's human. It's
Yeah,
quaint.
I mean that's you've said it like 1,000 times so far. Like it's about the human connection. Like social media was made to connect with other people, right?
It was made to
So if you're
socialize,
like,
dare I say. Just
oh my gosh, revolutionary stuff here on the Headliner
hashtag fake
Podcast today,
deep.
folks.
Yeah.
But
But
anyways, yeah. So having like the human elements of everything and the emotions with it are of course important. But regards to editing, like maybe we make it slightly more polished and just taking out some of the weird pauses or if you're stumbling. Unless you're trying to make something that is like, are they okay? Like what's going on with these people? Then by all
un-
means leave it in.
unless you really are aiming for like a podcast clip that is just a supercut of people saying and ah and staring at each
Yeah.
other in silence,
Yeah.
which, hey,
If you're trying to be goofy, be
if you're trying to
goofy.
be
Commit to
performance
it.
art, yeah. And then on that note, we're kind of starting to transition into like the second part of promoting your clip, which is the presentation of it, right? Like editing stuff down was sort of already that, but we're talking more like graphics, captions, all the stuff you can add to your clip just to make sure that people stick around. And this is another one of those lesser more things because what you really have to do is you just have to make sure that things look harmonious. You don't have text on top of text in your video, or you don't have weird jump cuts, you know, stuff like that. Unless, again, it's like a stylistic choice. So that's pretty easy. You know, it's kind of self-explanatory. If you're using a normal audiogram and you're not like showing a video clip from your podcast, that is making sure that your text is readable. If you have a purple background, maybe don't have blue text on top of the purple background, you know? Use like a complementary color wheel and find something that works great. Something that I learned, this is like a design hack or like a superstition among designers. Unless you have a colored background, avoid white text because it will not stand out that much. You know, just little things like that, making sure to put a CTA on screen if you can. You know, it's by all means say your call to action, but the human brain, if you leave a little Apple Podcast logo in the corner of your video, guess what? They're going to read that like 3 or 4 times while they watch your videos, you know? So, the little things like that and just not going too crazy about it.
Yeah. Or even just putting in like your own like branded watermark or something like that. Like being consistent with your visuals.